So, Middle East, guys, we could talk about a ton of stuff. Here's just a few elements to show you. Um, Interesting. This was not announced or revealed until yesterday, 104. 200 American service personnel will be in the region. The U.S. Says they're not going to Gaza, at least not yet. And it's not clear if they'll clearly be advisory, supervisory, but who else will be part of this force, where they'll actually be, what their mission will be. All this is unclear. But obviously, MAGA probably will not explode in rage at 200, but some of us call that a tripwire, a slippery slope, a sitting duck. We'll see what happens with that. Mr. Mondami responded 105 to the deal. Pretty positive about the deal. I hope it is lasting. I hope that it brings peace. Just like Barack Obama, who took a lot of heat on Twitter, didn't give a ton of credit to Donald Trump. Barack Obama tweeted about how great the deal was, didn't mention President Trump. Chuck Schumer lauded the deal. People generally pretty happy with the deal. And although questions remain, the holy trinity of the Gang of 500 all praised the deal. And by that, of course, I mean Tom Friedman, Peggy Noonan, and David Ignatius. All praised the deal and all gave credit to President Trump. So rather than try to figure out when phase two is happening or the exact quotidian detail of phase one, here's what I want to ask you both. Sean, how does this deal, assuming it stays on track, impact American domestic politics?
I don't think it does.
At all. It doesn't strengthen the president's hand or
Oh, it does.
help him raise more money from Jews. Anything?
Maybe I think on the edges. I think you might pull on, but I think the Jews who are with him are probably, and again, this is like probably with him already because of his stance on Israel. He's been, I mean, nothing's new, right?
Yeah.
So you might see a blip, but again, I've always been skeptical that foreign policy really drives much anything domestically. So
Dan, does it help? Does it help Cuomo because it takes Mondami's energy away from we gotta protect the citizens of Gaza? Does it help Cuomo?
Well, that's what I don't think it's going to help, broadly speaking, the kind of DR clash. And I think historically, whether it was Churchill or George H.W. Bush, Americans kind of go back to their lives and what are you doing for me?
Right.
I think in the Democratic Party, the interesting thing is you have like the Michigan Senate race where this issue was still very resonant and the plight of the Palestinians. I do wonder if that now recedes a little bit. I still think the issue of AIPAC and do you support Israel will be for every Democrat in every single race put to him or her, but it may become less of a tripwire within the party in primaries.
But I'll just press you on that. It doesn't have the potential to substantially reduce this as a divisive issue for the Democratic Party. I think if this stays on track, it may not be an issue that people who want to run for the nomination have to kind of navigate. It may just be, we're all for Israel. We're all for the poor people of Gaza.
Yeah, no, I think if nothing happens, I guess then that assumes that from here till, let's say, early 28, there's no developments. I mean, I doubt it's a straight line. So you mentioned the 200 military personnel. What if we're putting money in there? I think both parties, this is going to remain a very complicated issue, different dynamic, right? I think on the right, it's going to be is American tax dollars and American personnel doing, helping, this situation. And on the left, it's going to be, are you with Israel or are you with the Palestinians?
I think if it stays on track, the two big political winners are the Democratic Party and Andrew Cuomo.
I don't know,
Mark, but I think that's the key phrase, though, right? Just to be clear, on track matters because if the residents of Gaza don't feel like they're getting the aid that they need, the humanitarian care, et cetera, then I think that changes the dynamic real quick.
Yeah. Okay. Last question on this. What other countries are going to put military on the ground? Do we know? Anybody seen anything on that?
Who else has the real military?
Well, Egypt does, Saudi does.
Egypt. Well,
yeah, Egypt and Saudi.
I think what's interesting, Mark, is the reports are that what helped get the Hamas to agree to this was that their regional partners, Saudi Arabia and others, Trump guaranteed them that Israel would not go further and basically guaranteed he would hold this, which means we have skin in the game now to ensure this. That's a real slippery slope.
Yeah. All right. Well, two more quick things that we're going to move the shutdown. First of all, I never read the chat, but I do glance at it, and I see Matthew Bartlett put in, yes, the Gulf states have militaries, but I don't know that they're
Well, for what they're needed for, to be honest with you, I mean,
Yeah.
like this is not you're not ground troops here.
Yeah,
So, I mean, this is peacekeeping stuff. It's to be
Yeah.
blunt, it's not.
yeah. Yeah,
Well,
Matthew says
you
it's part of the
hope.
deal, but Matthew, if they really could do the job, we wouldn't have to put 200 Americans there. Lastly, and I want a serious answer when we do our play acting. I like you guys to, it's play acting, but to be real, if you guys were Barack Obama's comms director and press secretary, or chief of staff and comms director, and he showed you a tweet about the deal, not mentioning Donald Trump, and said, "Hey, what do you guys think?" What would you say?
Look, folks, the
Would you tell him? Would you tell him to put President Trump's name in the tweet or not?
Well, look, I think, Mark, you can't have this conversation without the backstory, which is when Barack Obama killed Osama bin Laden, most Republicans refused to acknowledge him in their statements. Again,
What would you say to Barack Obama if he showed
his
you the
statement was fine. His statement was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
Sean-
look, Dan Turrentine would say the obvious and congratulate Donald Trump, but the amount of scar tissue between those two,
Yeah.
I just don't think he can. Did Trump congratulate Barack Obama?
All good. I'm just wondering.
I think. Look, here's the bottom line. Could he get away with it if he said, "Hey, today's developments in the Middle East are significant for a way forward for peace. I'm pleased that the government." I would say you're fine. Like if you want, you're not going to get hit for that, but. And with Dan, I mean, look, there's a lot of scar tissue. If you don't want to get there, I'm not gonna. This is one where, as a staffer, I'd say, boss, I'm not fighting you on this one.
Yeah.
You might want to, if you add it, I think it'll help you in the long term.
Yeah.
But this isn't where a hill I'm going to die on.
Again, and no one could say that the lack of comedy and unity around this historic moment is Donald Trump's blameless for that. Obviously, no one could say that. You could argue he's the most responsible of anyone on the playing field.
By the way, one thing you asked about how this is going forward, I think when you look at Donald Trump's problem solving mechanism, right? The Witkoff, the Jared, the way that it's unconventional. I think that has hugely helped that. It is much harder to criticize Donald Trump's tactics when you say, really, because the way I'm doing it has done all this.
Totally agree. It's a brilliant point. Totally agree.
Sit down. I don't want to hear it again.
Yeah, totally agree. Who was the person who said, I think on this platform, some prominent Democrat said, I may disagree with, I know it wasn't on this platform. It was Meacham on Morning Joe. Yeah. Meacham gave Trump credit. Yep. And, anyway, I just think it's sad for America. But again, I'm not saying, how dare they not support Donald Trump for the reasons you said, Dan. But I just think it's bizarrely sad.
Oh, it's not bizarre. I mean, it's
bizarre.
Obvious.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre in the long sway of American history.
Well, but Mark, I just think you can't make that.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying the Democrats' failure to credit him is bizarre. I'm saying it's just sad to me and out of keeping with like what it means to be an American that no one can come together even on something like this. I always joke we'd take repelling a Martian invasion, but like this is an incredible accomplishment by an American president.
I mean, look, I rarely do this, like almost ever, but the way that Trump treated Obama was so horrific.
Dan, I agree.
I know, but like
I'm not saying how dare
I say that.
I understand. I'm not saying how dare the Democrats not support him. I get your point of view 100%. I think it's sad for the country
that we're at this place.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just sad. And again, if he said who's most to blame, Trump would be most to blame. But again, ironically, I think this is going to help the Democrats a lot.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.